otekako data wa mitwalo 5 ndowooza babeere bagamba mumuweeyo ennaku 2 muziduune like buli omu mubbi ate babba n'abanaku nawe atalina kyakulya bajja ne bakutwalako akako okitegeera. So who's gonna ani agenda otuyamba? Who's gonna help us? The youth. Who's gonna work on our issues? Ebintu byaffe byangu nnyo. Most of us are in the creative industry. Tuli mu arts, tuli mu sports, tuli mu film, tuli mu movies, tuli mu music industry. Abalala basobola okutunga, they're fashion designers. But ebyo kati abantu baffe abatukulembera batulabanga byamalidaadi bo bamanyi bali eri bayinjiniya naye ate ebyo tetulina ssente zikola bintu ebyo. Tetulina ssente zisoma busaawo, like our parents are broke. Singa baali basobola bandituweeredde, but then there's no one there to support us. Now they're doing nothing to our support. Onoosonyiwa nyiza okuyombera
tofaayo kuyomba nja kuleka oyombe. Let me just first of all checking whether you are still there. You've listened to the things that people have to say, Azawi, and you've captured the voice of and you called out your colleagues, and you've captured, and it's gone completely exploded on social media. I mean, everybody's talking about it. Where do you think we go now? I mean, from where you sit, what do we do?
First, I think Tetuzikiza, we should keep on pressing on the pimple until it bursts. We should not keep quiet. I just urge other, influential voices to come on board, because I feel like they're the missing piece. They have influence. Like, you don't know how much power artists have and how much that power, can take us. So we just want them to, to keep on talking, to keep on, pressing, exerting pressure. I know it's going to get too much for them at some point. So, like, let's not get discouraged as a youth. Let's keep on pressing. Tozikizam, every day, say what you have to say. Press them, bring out the evidence, call upon the authorities, the police, call them out, the members of parliament, because they are selling our country to the highest bidder. Tulieno, but those people in parliament, they are selling our country to the highest bidder. Abayimbi bo, they already sold their funds. Baba was sente, now they are compromised. They are now in a very tight position right now. They don't know where to fall. Ngokusaidia yaba wagizi, wagokusaidia yaba wagizi, bando sente zawe beyalyanga nabo bamuletera. So now let's keep on, making them feel guilty for selling out their funds. Robu sente. So I think for now that's what we can do. Ebirala tujja kuba obwongo bwaffe bukolera ku sipiidi, tujja kubiyigira as process eno ng'egenda mu maaso, just tetusirika. Let's keep on talking. Let's keep, for me, that's what I feel like we should do. If it means going to studio and making music about this, we should. If it means, putting out merchandise that calls out these, corrupt officials, we should do it. Tetuzikiza.
And please stay around. I want to hear from Jackie Kebigisa. Jackie, I just want to follow on from what Azawi was talking about, this failure to recognize the abilities of young people, and the specific issue that we talked about offline was this patronizing reference to young people as grandchildren. And as when I interviewed the guys who were involved with the protests in Kenya, they were saying they were being referred to as the Uber KFC iPhone generation. In other words, they bring nothing to the table. So are we at a time now when that innocence has ended and the Gen Zs, if we may refer to them that way, have come of age, and that some of these references need to end? Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you, Robert. So I think that the patronizing, especially the patronizing that Museveni does, is layered. So first of all, we have to speak to the first layer, which is a contestation of, how old he is and his overstaying power. And so to counter that, I think that part of the PR is to infantilize the majority of Ugandans who are, born. Well, we were born before. I guess he was president before even our parents thought about conceiving us. Like that idea in itself is just bizarre when you think about it.
Yeah.
Now, so on that layer, what Museveni does is to go to the endearing terms, because within Uganda culture, very social culture, is that there's we do respect older people, and it's not uncommon for an older person to call you grandchild, or even to make reference to you that way, whether you're related in like kinship, family ties or not. And so to tap into that narrative, and we see the ways in which it's not just Museveni. We see the ways in which the first lady as well is called Mama. Like you hear people in parliament addressing her as such. And what that does to the power is that it already strips out the roles that people are supposed to play. So Museveni is a president, and he's probably someone's grandfather. He has tons of them, but at the end of the day, when we take away the political role, that also takes away accountability. Because within Ugandan culture, a lot of the narrative is you don't question your elders. And then we see how then Museveni, within his grandfatherness, takes on that role as well. The concern, the condescending, responses to young people saying anything, and that condescension also then takes on a political role. It takes on a policy role too, and it also takes on an infrastructural role, because if you have a president who does not respect the people that he quote unquote is supposed to be, rule, is supposed to, I guess, govern in a way. I don't think that that's what he does. But let's speak for the sake of what he's supposed to do according to Ugandan law. And what that does is to create a culture of incompetence, but also a culture of condescension. And it also creates a hierarchy, because it's very difficult to approach someone who is supposed to be in a political role as a grandfather, because then that relationship is completely changed.
Yeah.
And then media comes in and media normalizes it, because then we have the jokes of grandfather or abazukulu, or and so when media normalizes the abnormal, we then end up with the kind of insanity that we have, that people are unable to hold the president accountable, but also the infrastructure that is supposed to do that cannot do that, because we are somehow turned into like a little Museveni kingdom, where his son then becomes, is responsible for the army. The wife then becomes responsible for Ministry of Education. Relatives become, so in the sense, when Museveni calls us bazukulu or grandchildren, he's speaking within the ways in which he has managed to covert power that way, that we just become a small kingdom that is under the impression that we are somehow a democratic government, or even something remotely to that. So for me, I think that not only do we, as media practitioners, as writers, as researchers, as young people, or as just people in general, need to make a distinction between the ways in which we normalize the abnormal. And I think specifically in media here, that then we take what Museveni says as the truth, and not necessarily, we don't question whether it's a fact or not. And I think that a lot of that is very deliberate PR, or very deliberate political maneuvers that Museveni has done, that then we move away from holding him accountable for being, one, the violence that he visits upon young people, but also just the ways that the state of the state in itself. So I think that a lot of the patronized, the infantilization that happens and starts starts from endearment terms that then is normalized, it somehow seeps into the way, it somehow seeps into political accountability. That now we are stuck in that loop of grandfather versus grandchildren. Even then it also becomes how media forms narratives. It's if Bobby is running for president, the narrative becomes the edge. The narrative becomes, and that takes so much of it takes away from the critique that we are supposed to offer, rather focuses on this very weird, political or social cultural contestation or even contradiction that we are in. So I think that the whole Bazikulu has to end.
Right.
It has to end from the media narratives. It also really has to end from canons in the ways in which we try to make light or jest of things that are not really funny, because I think that then we start to normalize the abnormal, and then we end up in the kind of craziness or even the kind of violence that we are in. We're in a perpetual state of like a violent contract. In fact, it's an abusive relationship, because I think that each time he speaks, it's just to gaslight young people.
Right.
Like nothing of it makes any sense. It's just that the kind of condescending nonsense, or even not nonsense, but the respectability that if a grandparent was saying something that you completely disagree with, you'd be hesitant to simply say, dude, move over.
Right.
But and I think that if we start to give the kind of or even the kind of critical thinking or even critical analysis towards these cultural jokes, a lot of if we apply the seriousness that we should, that a president should not be allowed at any moment to call people he has failed for over 30 years as endearment, or even have that level of condescension, then that breeds the kind of seriousness or even the kind of urgency or even agency that we should have towards Ugandan politics.
Right.
That's all.
Thanks, Jackie. I mean, that's quite analytical and gives us a perspective of all of us just looked at the surface of endearment and had never thought deeply about the dynamics that you present. I was hoping to get Maria in. I have lost her, but I'll get her back in shortly. General, are you about to go? I know it's past 10 o'clock. Do you want to say?
No, I have readjusted so you can first run through all the presenters.
Oh, thank you very
I
much.
will adjust the program.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Maria, are you back?
Yes, I am.
So, Maria, you've visited the guys in jail. What did they go through? Tell us.
Let me first start by clarifying. Well, I visited a couple of people in jail yesterday, but there are teams that have been visiting them through the week from when the first set of people were remanded.
But you've been talking to the teams, so you have a good idea of what's going on.
Yeah, so I was saying that it's a mix of hope and anxiety, right? Anxiety of when this is going to end, because we know that usually the punishment is the process. If anyone has seen the charge sheets that came from all the people being remanded, what court has charged them with, you really see these are flimsy charges. But from experience and seeing what we've seen with other activists previously, that the punishment is always the process. Hope is the fact that they are seeing people coming in and visiting them. And I would encourage everybody on this call, make time in the week, go and see these people, because they are part of a wider struggle of something that affects all of us. And I really, really want to thank Azawi for bringing the class analysis into this discussion, showing how corruption affects each one of us on a daily basis, from affecting our basic needs, but also affecting our ability to speak up in public, right? That now, because we have they've lost that power of conviction to be able to speak up against corruption. But the hope that these people carry is also that their incarceration, their being arrested and detained by the state will make the rest of us show up. I know we are sending money. I know we are retweeting. I know we are doing all of these things, and those things are important, but people, there is nothing that supersedes being able to physically show up, right? Physically showing up as a surety, physically showing up on the streets, because if 5 people, 6 people, 7 people show up in a day, it looks like the rest of you are not concerned about corruption. And I know that there's this narrative that, I will contribute in whatever way that I want to, that I can contribute. You need to ask yourself genuinely if that is the real can that you can contribute. Are you sick? Are you dying? Like, you need to ask yourself, is this the true can, or am I hiding behind this because I do not want to be in the risk of the risk, right? And so for me, it's the hope that people like Biwol, like Timothy, like Abdul, like everybody who has actually gone to jail, Fazia, like all of them are hoping that we will show up. Since what the gentleman of police, of prison said there's space, let's test this space and see how many of us can actually be inside there. And at the end of the day, when we must be able to show these people that what they have shown us and what the sacrifice that they have made is actually our equal response to the problem that we are seeing. That how do we actually show up in a way that causes the people who are convinced that dialogue is supposed to be the way to actually come to the table to dialogue. I don't even know why we need dialogue for corruption, as if we don't know where the corruption is located, and we know the people. You know your relatives who are thieves. Why do you want us to come and talk to them? You talk to them, deal with them at home. We don't have time to be having conversation. Like, what do you want me to talk you out of when it is stealing? Like, you've stolen money. Now you want me to come and tell you, oh dear, please, Bambi, stop stealing money. What? Please. But yes, but aside from that, it's difficult. I won't lie to people. It's difficult. It's mentally draining. And like, I really like that General Mugisha Muntu talked about being able to build resilience. But it also helps. It has helped many of them that they are in community together, but also hearing from them the other experiences of people in, for example, Kampala remand. While many of us think, oh, I'm safe out here, there are people in Kampala remand who have been picked for things that they don't even know. And are there, they've not had a day in court. And that's part of the problem with corruption, that it's not just about the money, it's the brokenness of the whole system, that people are not getting a fair day in court. I'm in a WhatsApp group where someone who works in the DPP's office really genuinely said that you must do everything to keep your client safe, besides just them having a fair day in court. Imagine a government official says something like that. That shows you like the extent of the brokenness of our system, that the lawyers who are trying to get these people bail could not access them. And yet we have laws, we have the constitution. So when people tell us go to court, like, we know that the courts aren't working for these people. So it's not even only the anti-corruption protesters who are stuck in a broken system. It's people who are picked get my fair day, my fair hearing in court. I must be able to access access to fair justice, that I must be heard. And if I'm going to be convicted, it must be because the system is actually working. We were at Nakawa and the state attorney ran away. Like, you guys ran away. We entered the gate. She was there. We saw her. People spoke to her. The next thing, we're in court, the woman has run away. What are we supposed to do with that? So when people tell us a fair hearing, when the president says that these are enemies from foreign places who are trying to harm this nation, look at what's happening, Mr. Your Excellency. And you know right from the start, like, we know that you know, right? And so for me, it's and just back to answer your question, Robert, specifically, it's a mix of hope. They're also feeling the support because people are visiting them. I'm encouraging everybody here. There is Mark Shonbe prison, there's Kampala remand, there's the women's prisons. These people are located in these spaces. Let's go there, take things, whether it's in kind, contribute, but also we need bail money and sureties, because we need sureties, because they are going to continue arresting people. If you're here, go and get your LC1 letter, have a copy of your national ID, have your original national ID. People need sureties. Please, if you have a sibling and you're in this protest, please get somebody to get an LC1 letter, because we are going to all need sureties at one point or the other, because even people who are hosting spaces like Kapshenga, when they pick you, someone is going to need stand surety for you. And for you, it's more complex because you have to have someone who can call you into order. Since they told us that we cannot call old people into order, you have to find other old people to stand surety for you, Kapshenga. And finally, and maybe just to say,
I have General Muntu. He will come for me.
now even him, he has to find a general, but but just finally on the narratives that Jackie talked about, building on a different thing, discourse, and not to and completely appreciating your contribution to this discussion, Robert Kapshenga. Like when you sent out that tweet about people don't want dialogue, you have anarchists. We have to be very careful about how we frame the people who are confronting the state, because when words like anarchists are used, when words like extremists are used, we know where this is going. We give the state fuel to be able to clamp down on these people even more. So we have to be really, really careful how we frame these conversations, because narratives are very important. Because when your peers see the word anarchist, what are they seeing? They don't even see the state, which is every day killing us. They are pretending to who have low incomes, people who have the narrative always shifts to blame other people, as opposed to focusing on the people who are killing people through the healthcare system, people who are killing people by keeping them in jail. Someone goes to jail and they've not had a day in court for 7 years, then Kampala remand, they have now become prefects in the prison, because there's no hope that they are going to get out, right? And so it's important that we keep the narrative a certain way, that the people who are on the street are the patriotic citizens.
Yeah, I actually take your criticism and accept that I contributed to that narrative. So going forward, I will be more sensitive in the way I frame the things that I put out. So thank you very much for that feedback, Maria.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Parliament, the corruption in this country runs deep and all. But yes, the first question should be, are there cases of corruption in Parliament? Are there issues to do with Parliament? It's not like Parliament is not clean. It's not like it is this innocent child picked out of its innocence and being accused for all the city's sins. The Parliament has very, very serious issues. When the team at Agora started the Parliament exhibition, so many people, whether it was Ofono Pondo, whether it was I could name a couple of people who repeatedly called upon Parliament to address these issues. It was a question of simply address these challenges. When they exposed that the commissioners were corrupt and selfishly enriched themselves to the tune of 1.7 billion Ugandan shillings, it was a question of them simply stepping aside or maybe having that discussion in Parliament. But the way they reacted was that first they paid influencers to come here and malign everybody who was participating in the parliamentary exhibition. They said all these nasty things about Agatha. Of course, they attack the women more because they slut shame them, hoping that if they say she sleeps with 5 men or she sleeps with so and so, that will somehow make them derail the person off the cause. So for me, I think that is the critical thing, that for all the time people are calling upon Parliament and saying, address these issues. You have this corruption, you have this other issue. And then people started saying that, oh, you guys are concentrating so much on Parliament. But within Agora, we kept joking and saying that Parliament was the one concentrating on itself. Because one time you're talking about the corruption of money shared, the next time the speaker is somewhere saying, oh, you can have a child who can steal as long as he brings something home. Then the next time, as you're still getting done with that, you're hearing that, oh, they bought themselves these generators of this much. As you're getting done with that, oh, they've taken money to fence their private residences, and it's these billions of shillings. So I think that the Parliament is definitely not the only corrupt institution in Uganda. Almost every institution in this country is corrupt. My friend jokes that because of the dictatorship at the national level, so many institutions have developed small dictatorships, whether it be Makerere University, whether it be the Law Development Center, whether it be Mulago. You'll find that there are demigods in these offices who will pretty much run the institutions the same way that the country is being run. They bring their relatives. There are questions of accountability. There are all these things going on. So Parliament is just one of those, but it has become the embodiment, the place where these deals are passed. Even the president is decrying of the corruption in Parliament, yet they're not willing to lift a finger to address the issues that they have there. And yet if you look at all the accountability committees, whether it be the Human Rights Commission, whether it be the Auditor General, they all take their reports to Parliament. So I think it's a case of people having had the expectations really high with Parliament, and Parliament having stabbed a dagger through our hearts as a country. But I think it is also a good sign that, I mean, a wake-up call, I should say, not a good sign, that each time people are saying we are going to exhibit at a particular institution, or we are going to look at this institution, within the institution, those leaders must address themselves, because so many times these things can be addressed. Like I said earlier, like it's the early signs of cancer, that there's this problem coming up. So the earlier you address it, and you have to address it comprehensively and say, there are these problems, we need to address it like this, and once you address it like this, we can then move forward from there. So I just thought I should put that clarity out there.